Ahead, I'll talk with Jessica G about bucket list family travel. Share the world with your kids on 50 Adventures of a Lifetime. It's from National Geographic. Hi, I'm Dan Skinner, and this is Some Books Considered. Jessica G began the popular YouTube channel, The Bucket List Family, with her husband after planning to travel the world for 5 months with their 2 young children. 5 years and another son later, they have visited 90 countries around the world, have 3 million Instagram followers, and 1.5 million YouTube subscribers. Stay tuned for some travel advice and learn more about some of the destinations you might want to add to your bucket list. Jessica, welcome to Some Books Considered.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, you're known for your YouTube media and chronicling your family's travels. How did this all get started?
It started back in 2015. My husband and I were at a time in our lives where we didn't know what was next. My husband had a company in college that he had started with some buddies, and he sold it to Snapchat. So it didn't feel right to buy a house and settle down at the time. So we thought we could learn a little bit from the world. We decided to take off on a couple of months of travel. We ended up selling everything, just wanted a fresh start completely. And let's see, it was about 4 months of travel, and then it turned into 3 years full time. Here we are about 9 years later, and we're almost to 100 countries. So
I guess part of my question for you here is what this has meant to you, how this has enriched your life.
I think the more you see of the world, the more you know of the world, the more you love it, and the more you're grateful for the different cultures and the different lessons you learn and the experiences and the wildlife. I mean, it's just been so enriching to see so much of that. And then I think most importantly, the best thing to come of it is just the time we've spent together as a family.
In this book, you have 50 destinations that you've spotlighted, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But obviously, we won't have time to talk about all of them or all of the context in this book. But give us a brief overview. What are readers going to find here?
Well, the first half of the book is anything and everything you would need to know about family travel, particularly traveling with little kids. How to pack, how to budget, where to go, where you could stay, hotels versus Airbnbs or Verbos. And then on the ground tips and tricks for traveling internationally. And then the whole second half is 50 bucket list destinations and experiences that you could have all over the world.
And we should note that since this is a National Geographic book, it's also filled with wonderful photographs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. We were super excited that when we signed this contract, it was supposed to be about half our photos and half Nat Geo photos. And I would say maybe 90% of them are my husband's photos. So kudos to him for having such great photos for them to choose from for this book. That it turned out really beautiful.
Well, let's talk about some of the practical advice you have in the book. What are a few of your favorite money-saving tips?
I think the first ones would be you don't need to go anywhere too crazy or too far. Look at stuff nearby. Another great tip is, which we have coming up, is take advantage of Black Friday deals. A lot of airlines, a lot of hotels, they have these deals during Labor Day or Black Friday or whatever. Take advantage of those. And then there's the whole travel hacking side. There's the credit cards, there's the points and all of that stuff to take advantage of. I think big trips and even bucket list travel is more within reach than people think if they do some research and give it some planning.
When you go to a location, there's so much you could potentially do. How do you kind of distill that all down into an itinerary?
We choose our one thing we want to do a day. Because we have little kids, we learned early on we're not going to see it all. So we usually pick 1, maybe 2 things we're going to do that day. That's high priority on our bucket list. And then we stick to that, because otherwise it can get overwhelming when you want to hit a whole bunch of different places. Another
piece of advice you give in a chapter is packing. And I'm sure that packing with children involved is even more of a challenge than if it were just 2 adults.
Absolutely. Early on, oh my goodness, if you could have seen my bags when I first left, I thought I was packing for the end of the world. I had diapers and wipes and formula for days, but then I quickly realized that there's kids and babies all over the world and that you can buy diapers and stuff everywhere. And then also, when it comes to some of the big things, I see some families show up at airports with the pack and play and the car seat and the crib and all the things. And I always give the tip, call ahead at the hotel or at the home rental that you're staying at and see if they have a crib or see if they have a car seat. Hopefully to minimize the chaos at the airport when you have, 4 or 5 giant items that you're trying to bring along with you.
What advice do you have about health and sort of safety concerns? Because if you're going to be away from home for a while, if you're going to take an extended vacation for maybe a month or so, what are some of the things you need to be aware of?
Well, I, of course, pack a little mini pharmacy with just all the little basics. I went to my doctor early on, and he gave me what he called a travel essentials, where I just had some antibiotics, some basic medications for, anything from swimmer's ear to pink eye to just the Band-Aids and the hydrocortisone, stuff like that. And then we have our traveler's insurance, which, we've used maybe 3 times and it hasn't been that big of a deal, but we've had stitches in Thailand and the Maldives. Knock on wood, nothing ever too crazy or intense, but we've been really grateful to have stayed quite healthy during our travels.
Well, one of the things you address in your book is if you're traveling around the world, you're dealing with jet lag. So what's your advice about dealing with jet lag?
The best advice I can give you is to not stress about it and to go with it. If you can do your very best and not nap during the day, if you arrive early in the morning, try to stay awake until the sun goes down. Try to let your body adjust. Or if you arrive at nighttime, normally what we'll do is I'll give everybody in my family a little melatonin, try to go to sleep and then wake up with the sun. So just as soon as possible, try to get on track. Don't let yourself nap if you can.
I'm talking with Jessica G. about bucket list family travel. Share the world with your kids on 50 adventures of a lifetime. And our conversation continues in a moment. If you're enjoying this discussion, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. And thank you. Another thing you talk about in the book is just, as you mentioned ago, just go with it, adjusting. But there's whole just kind of adjusting to different cultures, adjusting to different lifestyles, and not, worry about it, but just kind of go with the flow and feel yourself in this new environment.
Totally. My dad taught me growing up, his motto was, you choose your attitude. And now that's been my family motto is you have to, bad things are going to happen, delayed flights, people might, I had a kid trip at the airport that needed stitches. So you just have to, take it, roll with it and choose a good attitude and handle things as they come.
Well, as we mentioned, it becomes a little more complicated when it's not just 2 adults, but you have children in the mix. So what have you learned and what advice might you share about traveling with children?
We're so grateful for these moments that we get to share together. Just spending time together, first and foremost, is the most important thing. And then when you can experience something new, a new culture, a new food, anything like that, it really, really brings you together. It's been one of the most enriching experiences we've had to experience that together with our young kids. Like our little boy is learning what elephants say while he's with an elephant. We always just say we're just a normal family. So yes, we're having these incredible experiences, but my son, we posted about this week, my son lost his first tooth on an airplane. And being so close to one another for those experiences, having normal everyday life activities just in unique places.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions is about airplane travel with kids because they could get bored or et cetera. What sort of advanced planning do you do with the kids to make sure that they can deal with that kind of trip?
Well, we did start them young. They learned very early how to behave on an airplane. And I'm not going to lie, there were some rough years. Maybe that 8 months to 2 years is a really rough time to travel with young toddlers. But teaching them young and having those expectations of how to behave on an airplane. And now I can say that they're great professional travelers. They know, when a flight attendant comes by, they know how to politely ask for their cranberry juice and how to take out their stuff and hopefully not kick the chair in front of them. It's just been a lot of teaching along the way. And they've gotten really good at it.
Well, the second half of your book is these 50 destinations. And obviously we can't talk about all of them, but let's talk about a few of them. What are some it's unfair to ask really what your favorites are, but what are some that you would mention to readers and might pique their interest to look at the book further?
Some of my favorite in the U.S., I love Cannon Beach. I love going out to the Oregon coast. You can go crabbing with your family. They have these long, vast, sandy beaches you can walk on and tide pools. We really love Tahoe. We love going there. I think it's a great 4-season destination. Summer, winter is amazing. Falls. Anyway, a great place, and somewhere we went a couple of years ago that I highly recommend to families is Hilton Head. That was a great destination. Lots of things to do, lots of great food. And then internationally, one of my favorite places to recommend, especially maybe for first-time international travelers, is Belize. It's really close to the U.S. It's a direct flight from many cities in the U.S. They take the dollar, they speak English, they have the jungle, and they have the beach. So that's a top recommendation from me is Belize. Costa Rica is also really great if you're just dipping your toes into international travel.
And you do mention in the book that Fiji is a very family-friendly place.
Oh my goodness. The Fijians love children, and you feel like family when you arrive. It doesn't matter where you stay. We've been there a few times. We've stayed in many different places, and they love children, especially babies. They'll just take your baby right from you, and they'll stand next to you and just love on your baby. And it's so sweet.
For each of these destinations, you sort of work through each location with different sections of, walk us through the kind of sort of headings you have in each of those chapters.
Every chapter I give kind of the why and some of our favorite moments. But early on, my husband and I had our 3 values. Those were adventure, culture, and service. So most destinations, we try to focus on 1, 2, or 3 of those values and what cultural experiences we can have, what service opportunities we can have, or what adventures. In some countries, we call it the triple threat, where you can get all 3. But that's how I've broken it down are some of these activities and what it allows you to accomplish on your bucket list.
And also advice about, where to stay, what to eat, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And then all of the tips, all the hopefully some itinerary insights that you can get.
Another interesting aspect of your book are these bucket lists. And you start with bucket list for babies all the way up to bucket lists for adults, and you have them into different categories. Tell us a bit about those.
Yeah, every age is so different, especially traveling with babies. I talk about, some of the great places you could go if you just strap a young infant to you that you can still get out. And then there's other destinations that might be better for a rambunctious toddler who just wants to roam and have some open, rolling hills. I think I suggest Scotland. For the toddlers. And then as kids get older, they can appreciate other things and destinations like Hawaii or even Africa when they get a little older and can really start to learn things. I break it down in the book by the age, which is, I think, really beneficial because the experience is very different throughout all ages.
And you also point out a special thing to do for your kids is if you know they have a particular interest, look for things in that location that they will find fascinating.
Yeah, totally. My daughter was really into gymnastics. I remember The Greatest Showman had just come out, that movie. And we found this destination. It was a Club Med in Punta Cana. And they have a Cirque du Soleil school. So we spent the week learning how to do circus tricks from professionals there. And that was such a cool experience for my son. He was really into cars. We went to Wolfsburg where they, do all the auto making. And anyway, so really highlighting some of the kids' interests and choosing destinations that they'll like just because they can do gymnastics or because there's going to be a bunch of cars there.
What's still on your bucket list?
Next on our bucket list, actually, we're going this winter to the Christmas markets. We're doing a Christmas market tour down the Danube, starting in Budapest, going to Vienna, and then ending over in Germany. We're so excited. We've done the Christmas markets once, just for like a weekend, but this will be, I think there's 7 different cities, and it's going to be a great trip.
One last question, though. You've been traveling with your family, and that's wonderful. You got to share all these experiences. But there are times when adults would like to have a little couple time. So how do you deal with that?
We've been fortunate to either have family travel with us at times, and I do feel like we're quite trusting. We have used a few sources like care.com and have found some people, or if we stay at nice hotels, oftentimes they'll have a kids club or a nanny service that you can use, and we've always had really great experiences with that, and allows me and my husband to go scuba diving or go out on a date night.
The book is Bucket List Family Travel. Share the world with your kids on 50 Adventures of a Lifetime. It's by Jessica G. Jessica, thank you for talking with me today.
I appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much.
If you'd like to purchase Bucket List Family Travel, I've placed a link for you in the description below. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. Meanwhile, here are 2 more books you might find interesting. I'm Dan Skinner. Thank you for watching this edition of Some Books Considered.